All right, welcome back to part 2 of the tote diving. We're going to do a little bit of show and tell here for tote number 2, video number 2 in the series. Thanks to everybody who clicked it yesterday and watched it. Seems like you guys are enjoying this, so let's keep it going. I have a different tote today that we're going to show. I haven't really even started digging in it yet. I just took the lid off. I can't really remember what's even in here. So I'm joined again by my two biggest fans, Hannah and Heidi. So let's take a look and we will see what's in this tote. So again, there's no real rhyme or reason to the order I'm pulling these. This is just kind of a random pull from a random tote. The first one here is called Razor, and this was I guess it's kind of a dark comedy horror. It's a Greek movie. I imported this from Greece years ago. I think this is from the early 2000s. And it was supposed to be, well, it's pretty gory, and it has some really bizarre kind of sexual death scenes in this movie. I'm not going to go over those, but there's some pretty gory, pretty dark, twisted, demented kills in this movie. If you want to know more about it, I recommend you look it up on either IMDb or Google it, because there's some pretty gory stuff that I can't really talk about here on the channel. So the thing about my taste in movies is I don't really care too much for the movies that are gory just for the sake of being gory. I love horror movies. I love a good story. I love, acting is give or take, I guess. In a horror movie, you're not going to get Academy Award, winning actors. But when the movies come out as gory just to be gory and to be over the top gory, I don't really care too much for those. And this kind of touches in that area of being gory just to be gory. So there's a lady in the movie who gets, let's say she gets abused in a way that she shouldn't be abused. So she puts razor blades into her hoo-ha, and I'll just leave it at that. You guys can do your own reading on that. I don't know if I'll ever watch that again, to be honest with you. One time was enough for me. The next one is the widescreen edition of Return of the Living Dead Necropolis, and these movies are pretty fun for what they are, but there's a lot of them now, and they keep getting worse, I think, but they're still pretty fun to watch. This one came out in 2005. Some of the earlier ones are really good. Here's a creature feature sci-fi horror movie called The Host. Monster movie. Japanese horror. Kind of like I guess a Loch Ness monster type monster out there. Let's see. This one is called House of Horrors, the movie, the unrated special edition. I don't remember where I picked this one up. I think I might have gotten this. I don't remember where I got this. houseofhorrorsmovie.com. I didn't crowdfund this movie. I'm not sure where I got this from. And to be honest, I don't really know much about it. I don't remember anything about it. This one I picked up at an FYE. This is the remake. This is the sequel to the remake. So this is The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, the unrated. These movies were excellent. I think they were better than the originals, and the originals were very good. I think the remakes were a little bit scarier. They had a bigger budget. That's pretty awesome slipcover. And it was a great price at the time, so let's see. Here is the remake, part 1. So these, I guess, go hand in hand together. So we have the remake, part 1, and the sequel to the remake, part 2. And again, these are both unrated, and they're both excellent. If you've never seen these movies, do check them out. This one comes with a pretty good slipcover. And obviously, these both have Blu-ray upgrades by now. I'm just showing you guys my DVD collection. This movie was excellent. This movie was a little bit over the top gory, and it's kind of a revenge, kind of a tough chick revenge movie. But man, she goes through a lot of body torture in this movie. It's pretty bloody, very, very suspenseful. And I thought the movie was very good. It has a great ending to it. A terrifying shocker, they're calling it. I agree with that. Okay, let's see what else. Here's Return of the Living Dead 3. I thought this movie was okay. There's a lot of people who rave about this movie and say how great this movie is. It's not that. It's okay for what it is, but it's basically a love story set in a zombie apocalypse. That's all it is, really. So I'm sure most of you have seen this movie before, but there's a lot of people who just say this is the greatest movie ever made, and no, it's not even anywhere near that. Middle of the road at best. Let's see. I got Cannibal Man. I have this movie a couple different times. This movie is very bizarre, very low budget. I think this was a German import. I also do have the American DVD of it. So this, I don't remember what those are. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie. This is the German edition. Comes with a nice booklet. You get the DVD and the Blu-ray. It's in a DVD-sized case. And then there's a couple of little, I don't know what those are, like little stickers from the movie. I don't know if it's meant to look like it's 2 hits of acid or something. I wouldn't know anything about that. But there's the cover. It looks like a little mini poster. I don't remember if there was a theme of drug usage in the movie. It's been a long time. I don't remember what the gimmick of those little stickers is. Let me see if I can get this one-handed. All right. So that's Cannibal Man. This came out, I believe, in the early 80s. Let's see if it says here on the back. Well, this Blu-ray DVD combo came out in 2014. But it doesn't say when the original movie. I would have to guess like early to mid 80s. I think Anchor Bay also released a DVD of that here in the US. This one was really good. This is Return of the Living Dead Part 2. And I think that cover is pretty awesome. And this is a really fun movie. Part 1 and 2 are really good. Part 3 is okay. I don't hate Part 3. I just hate that people prop it up higher than it probably should be. But to each their own, right? I mean, everybody has their own tastes in movies. This was a pretty nice little set. I was very happy with this for many, many years. I think I bought this at a Suncoast Video a long time ago. This is the 3 blood-spattered zombie classics. You get Zombie 3, Zombie 4 After Death, and Zombie 5 Killing Birds. Is this the Shriek Show? Yes, it is. This is the Shriek Show box set. I bought this brand new when it first came out, and that was a long time ago. Probably 2005-ish, I would say. Let's see. Yep, 2005. Right, I don't know if you can see that there. But I think these movies are really fun. They're pretty silly though too, but you have to kind of know what you're getting into. There's Part 5. These are all in anamorphic widescreen. They all come with their chapter card insert. And I've watched these many times. They still look like they're brand new. That's because I take really good care of my stuff. As a collector, we spend a lot of money on our stuff. Might as well take good care of it. And then here's Zombie 3. So the story behind the box set, or why it starts at 3, is because in Italy, Dawn of the Dead was known as Zombie. Z-O-M-B-I. That was just one of the names it was known by. Here in the United States, it was Dawn of the Dead. So when Fulci came out with his unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead, he didn't have permission to do it. He just took it upon himself to do that. He named his first movie Zombie 2, which was also called Zombie Flesh Eaters, which was also called Zombie. I know it's pretty confusing, but so there really is no official Zombie Part 1 from Fulci, because Zombie Part 1 was Romero's Zombie Dawn of the Dead, if that makes any sense to you guys. So I'm going to pause it here, put these back, and we'll keep going. The next one here is the Dawn of the Dead remake, which is a great movie. I love this movie. And if you watch in the beginning of the movie and you listen to the newscast on the radio, they talk about southeastern Wisconsin. That's where I live. They talk about Kenosha, and that's where this movie takes place. This was a collaboration between director Zack Snyder and director James Gunn, who I believe he wrote the screenplay. Let me see here. Based on characters by George A. Romero, screenplay by James Gunn, directed by Zack Snyder. I really hope those guys get together and make another horror movie at some point. I really had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought it was really good. It's never going to be as good as the first one. It's a classic, but it was very good in its own right, and it was a very proud remake, in my opinion. I thought it was very good. So that was the Dawn of the Dead remake. Let's see. Here is from Something Weird Video. This is a double feature, Satanus, the Devil's Mass, with starring the Church of Satan founder, Anton LaVey, the Great Xandor, as he was like to call himself, and it also comes with Cynthia, the Devil's Doll. And this was a pretty hot ticket when it first came out, and I remember when it sold out, it was pretty expensive. You could probably get it fairly cheap these days. It's only the DVD, but I believe this does have a Blu-ray upgrade by now too. Let's see. I thought these movies were pretty good. These are low-budget backwoods slasher movies, kind of in the same vein as, Friday the 13th. And the killer actually looks a lot like Jason Voorhees, and he's wielding a chainsaw. But I believe there was 2 or 3 of these in the franchise, and they were all pretty decent. They were not great by any stretch of the imagination, but they were still pretty fun, and I enjoyed them. I have the sequels here somewhere as well. Let's see. Pick some good stuff for you guys, I guess. At least in my opinion, this stuff is good. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is a creature feature called Grimm. I really enjoy these 80s creature feature movies when the creature is made out of a rubber, he has a rubber mask and a rubber body instead of computer-generated images. And this is not a great movie, but it's still a fun, entertaining creature feature movie from the 80s. Does it say when it came out? Okay, here's the sequel, Bloody Murder 2. I don't know if these ever got a Blu-ray release. I don't recall. I have many, many different editions of The Evil Dead. This is the Elite Entertainment DVD. Some of these are harder to find, some of these are very common, but it's fun to try to collect the different editions. Nothing really special about this one. Great movie though. Here's another one of my favorite horror movies. This is Jeepers Creepers Special Edition. I bought this on day one when it was released. Saw this in a movie theater a long time ago. And Justin Long is in this one. He's a good actor. Always enjoyed him. This comes on a flipper disc. On side 1 you get the movie, and then on side 2 you get the special features. Comes with the chapter stops on the little index card there. Here's one that I helped crowdfund. This one's called Nikos the Impaler. This was the limited edition. It was signed by Joseph Zazo, the director of the film. I don't know if you can see that. This was one of the very first movies I ever helped to crowdfund a long time ago. There's Zazo right there. Now let me see here. I'm trying to figure out, did Andreas Schnaz have anything to do with this movie? Felissa Rose is co-starring in the movie. Some of that stuff I can't show. I apologize. This movie's not bad. It says Move Over Freddy and Jason. Nikos is the new name in horror. It's okay. It's probably pretty rare to find this. I don't know how many of these were released. I don't want to spend too much time on one title. I got a lot more to show. If you guys are still enjoying this series, let me know and I'll keep recording videos. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to show. If the views start to die down, then I'll take that as a clue. Here's a Bloodbath in the House of Knives. And this is kind of a low-budget giallo type film shot on video. This was put out by oldies.com. Kind of a deranged killer stalking people type movie. Let's see here. This one's called Mr. Ice Cream Man. Not to be confused with Clint Howard's Ice Cream Man. This is a different, lower budget even. And it's not as good as the Clint Howard Ice Cream Man. Let's see here. I'm trying to pull out some things I think you guys will enjoy. Here's Barn of the Living, or I'm sorry, Barn of the Naked Dead. And this was signed by Johnny Legend. Andrew Prine was in this movie. Full-length video zine called Gore Beat is a bonus feature. It says in the tradition of The Hills Have Eyes and Lawrence of Arabia. I was pretty disappointed by this movie. I don't even know where the disc is. It's around here somewhere. But yeah, the movie was not very good. A low-budget monster movie called The Loch Ness Terror. I thought for sure this would be a Wild Eye release, but it's not. Sony Pictures put this out. This movie came out in 2008. And I remember this being very, very CGI. Like, it kind of ruins movies for me when it's too CGI. But I do love monster movies, creature features. Okay, so I just grabbed a few handfuls and put them on the bed here. I can probably do another video after this one with more videos that's in there. Sorry about that. I banged on the toad and she barked. All right, so the first one here is called Blade of the Vampire. It's okay, Hannah. It's okay. All right, my fault. So I don't really remember too much about this movie or even where I got it. I've been collecting movies for so long that I can't remember certain movies that I'm sure I've seen all of these at one point or most of these. I can't remember where I got them. This one's called Blood Mask. The Possession of Nicole Lamoureux. It says, an evil from the past, a beautiful co-ed at odds with her priest father, a cursed iron mask, a teacher with a dark family secret, 6 college students trapped in a haunted mansion, dying one by one. So we've all heard that formula before, but these are still fun movies. It's either a sorority house or, campers in the woods, and one by one they're getting picked off. But we still enjoy those movies. This is called The Shaolin versus the Evil Dead. This was the special edition. This is kind of J-horror, Japanese horror. I remember having fun with this, but again, I don't remember a whole lot about it. It's pretty good. This is a movie based on a real-life serial killer by the name of Bob Berdella, and this is called Bizarre. He was a homo, and he would lure other homo men to their deaths. He would torture, sodomize. So this video will not be monetized, I can guarantee you that. You probably won't see any ads in this video. This was a fun movie. It's another slasher film that takes place in the outdoor winter atmosphere, and this is called Blood Runs Cold. I really enjoyed this one. As a matter of fact, when I put this in years ago, I had never heard of it, and I just popped it in as a blind buy, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought it was really good. Kind of has The Wrong Turn, if you guys can remember those movies. It has that kind of wrong turn vibe to it. Here's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I have this movie many times. This is a great movie. Up until just recently, everybody used to crap on this movie, and just all of a sudden over the last year or two, everybody's saying it's their favorite in the franchise. But I've been saying that all along for years, for decades. I thought this was a great addition to the franchise, and originally what they were going to do with the Halloween franchise was, after part one and part 2 are the same movie basically. It's like it just runs in, part 1 runs into part 2, and it's one long movie. And then when part 3 came out, they were going to make it an anthology series, and they were going to kind of ditch the Michael Myers story and just make movies like this. So when this movie came out, everybody was expecting to see Michael Myers, and everybody was complaining at the time. So they went back to Halloween 4, went back to Michael Myers, and they kept him in the franchise ever since. But I really always did enjoy Halloween 3. Here's one called Dawn of the Dead Mega Disc. I got suckered into this one. This was an eBay purchase, and I guess you can say this was a fan-made or bootleg. The guy who was selling this claimed that this was behind-the-scenes interviews and bonus content that was never released before. But if you got the original Anchor Bay box set on DVD from back in the day, everything that's on here was in that box set. So the dude lied to me, and I didn't even feel like sending it back. So I kept it. But everything that's on here, it's just bonus features. And it's a fan-made. See, it's just, which I don't mind if it was extra stuff that I had never seen before. So you get 2 discs. And I knew that this was fan-made, but he claimed to me that it was never before seen stuff, and I wanted to grab it, but it was all seen before. The next one is called Bad Meat. MVD visual. There's really nothing to say about this. Just low budget. I believe this is a trauma film, The Janitor. I guess not. It's not officially a trauma movie, but it's very much a trauma movie, if you know what I'm saying, because it's just ridiculousness. Killer Janitor, but that cover, the cover's pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. Movie came out in 2005 from Elite Entertainment. This movie is called Zeter, or also known as Revenge of the Dead. This is a pretty good movie. This also has a Blu-ray by now. I think it was put out by Ronin Flicks. Or maybe it was Scorpion. I don't recall at the moment. But this was not a bad little zombie flick. I kind of enjoyed it. Zeter, or Revenge of the Dead. This one is not a horror film. This was a release by No Shame. They're a defunct company, and they were really putting out some pretty good stuff, some rare titles back in the day. They weren't around very long. And this is a Euro crime, an Italian crime thriller called Milano Violenta. And this does have a Blu-ray release too. I imported this one. This was No Shame, I believe, let me see, from Italy, I think. Even though No Shame was based in the US, I believe this was the Italian branch. I think that's how that was. I used to import a lot of stuff. I still do import stuff, but it was back then. There were no companies like Grindhouse Tampa or Diabolic DVD where you can just one shop get everything you need. Back then, you had to really look around and find things and import things from different countries. And to me, that was half the fun of being a collector. Now you can just go to one store, Diabolic DVD. They have everything from Germany, Italy, Spain, the UK. I mean, they have everything that you need there. I mean, it's great. It's convenient, but it kind of takes away some of that fun of the hunt. But I'm very grateful for Diabolic and companies like that. This movie here was really fun. I really enjoyed this. It's called The Last Lovecraft. Relic of Cthulhu. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I've heard other people try to pronounce it. I'm just going to leave it at that. But this was kind of a comedy, sci-fi, a little bit of horror elements to it. It was kind of almost like Shaun of the Dead, kind of like in that vein of comedy horror. But I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. I'm going to revisit this one soon. If you haven't seen this one, or if you haven't even heard of it, just blind buy it, grab it, check it out. You'll enjoy it. This was an oldie. This was probably one of the first DVDs ever released, at least for horror. This is Retro Media's drive-in theater called Garden of the Dead, hosted by Son of Ghoul. Very low budget, rare. Not much else to say about that. Here's a childhood favorite of mine. I've talked about this movie on my channel many times, and I have this movie several different times too, different editions, Steelbook, Blu-ray. I don't know if I have it on 4K or not. I think I do. But of course, this is the classic An American Werewolf in London, and I remember as a kid, when did this come out? 85, 84? Let me see here really quick. 81. So back in the day when I was a little kid, every once in a while we would get a free trial of HBO at the Walnuts compound. Not my compound, my dad's compound. And I remember one night this movie was on. I sat up and watched it by myself at night. It was like, I think it must have been a weekend. And everybody else was doing something else. I was in the living room. It was dark. I was watching it by myself, as you should when you're watching horror movies in the dark by yourself. But I remember being so freaked out when the wolf started attacking, And I remember holding on to the Lazy Boy recliner that I was in, and I had my hands on the armrests, and my knuckles were white from digging in. But it was such a fun experience as a kid, and I wish I can go back just to have that feeling again of watching these horror movies and actually getting a little bit afraid, being scared. But going back and watching that movie now as an adult, it's like a comedy. It's a great movie, but it's not scary like it was when you were a kid. Here's another great movie, one of my favorites, John Carpenter's The Fog. I have this movie many different times. Excellent movie. There's not much to say about this that hasn't already been said. You guys already know all about The Fog. One of my favorite Carpenter movies. The next up is a box set from Redemption called the Zombie Collection. It's a 3 DVD set. I remember getting this at Best Buy years ago. And back in those days, it was probably the early 2001 maybe, 2002. Let me see. Because there was a Best Buy. It has since moved the location, but we still do have a Best Buy here in my town. But the first building that Best Buy was in, they had a huge movie section, and they even rented movies back then. So you can rent like DVDs and I think even VHS still in the early 2000s. And they had aisle upon aisle of movies, and they had a huge horror section. And I would go and spend $100 every time I was in there. And this was one of the sets that I bought there, and I had never heard of any of these movies at the time. So you get the Living Dead Girl, you get the Reincarnation of Isabel, and the Night of the Hunted. I think, isn't Redemption owned by Kino now? I could be wrong about that. I think Kino Lorber owns them, or they work together or something. But these are pretty good movies, actually. And if you guys like kind of gothic vampire zombie type movies on the low budget, then you'll probably like these. It's pretty good stuff in here. I thought of the three, Living Dead Girl was my favorite one. But those are the three that come with the box set. And some of you guys may remember from part one of this series that I mentioned that I went through kind of an urban legend kick. And I still do love the urban legends. They're great. But there was a time where I was buying just about everything I could. I couldn't get enough of urban legends. Now these days for me it's true crime. I can't get it. It's like every day for hours I watch true crime stuff. Very fascinating. But I went through a phase with urban legends, and this was one of the things I picked up. So this was a popular TV series apparently, and it was something that must have went under my radar because I don't remember it. But I did watch these, and they were all very good. So you get little segments here on the discs, and I think they're like 20-25 minutes a piece. They were hosted by Natasha Henstridge. And thought that was pretty fun. Here's just another different cover of The Fog. This one's green, this one's blue. You can see how nuts I am. I'm a collector, and that's what I do. I collect different things of the movies that I love. Here's one called It's Alive. This one does have a Blu-ray box set that was put out by Scream Factory, but these are fun movies. Comedy horror movies. Is this a Larry Cohen movie, I think? Written, produced, and directed by Larry Cohen. I'm sure most of you have seen these by now. They're pretty fun movies. I have a handful of these Fangoria Presents movies, and this one's called Inhuman Resources. And this was kind of a comedy horror. And let's see. Yeah, it's kind of a splatter flick. Kind of workforce, office violence. Here's a German movie. This was pretty rare at the time. Years ago, this was rare. It was hard to find this. This is called Scram. Scram, I believe it's pronounced. It says, today I'm dirty, but tomorrow I'll just be dirt. Very, very bizarre movie. But this was a hot ticket back in the day just to try to get a hold of one of those. Here's one called the Jack Hammer Massacre. Just when you thought you run out of tools to commit murders with, you get the Jackhammer Massacre. This is a fun kind of a cryptid movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, kind of a yeti in the swamps. I believe this has a Blu-ray release from, is it Severin? Don't quote me on that. It does have a Blu-ray release, and it may be Severin, but I don't recall just now. But this is a good movie, but the transfer on here is pretty grainy, but it kind of adds to that, if that makes sense, because it's almost like a cryptid creature caught on film, and you don't want it to be crystal clear. I think that the graininess kind of adds to the appeal and the charm of the movie. Supposedly this is based on a true story from the 1940s. Don't know about that, but it's a fun movie. This is a trauma movie called Blood-Sucking Freaks, and this one is a crazy trip. This is the director's cut. It's entertaining, but it's not the kind of movie that I can sit and watch over and over. I mean, once every couple years, maybe every few years, pop this in, but it's very demented. There's a lot of weirdness to that movie. This is a great series here. I really love part one. I watched part one in the theater. I have all of them on DVD and Blu-ray. This is Wrong Turn. Eliza Dushku is gorgeous. There was a really good cast in this movie, actually. What was the tall guy's name? I thought this guy here on the right with the yellow shirt, I thought he played a great role. And Jeremy Sisto, his name is, if you can see that right there, Jeremy Sisto, that's who that guy was. Usually when I watch horror movies like this, these kind of teen horror movies, when they start getting picked off one by one, I could care less, about the characters or anything. But this one, they actually you kind of feel for the characters, and you kind of grow attached to certain characters. And that Jeremy Sisto dude, if you haven't seen this, I don't want to ruin it, but his death scene, it was kind of heartbreaking. Like, oh man, I liked that character. I thought he was a good dude, And I just have a couple more. I mean, I have them all, but I'm not going to show them all. This is Wrong Turn 4. One of these, I don't remember which. It might be this one. Was recalled and had to be edited because in the movie there was a missing person poster, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. It was either on a telephone pole or a telephone box. I can't remember what it was, but there was a real life missing person photo or poster, and somehow they got sued by the company for putting that in the movie or something. It was just like a background scene. They didn't mean to capture it on film. It was just like a continuity thing. When the characters were walking by, there was this poster on the wall or whatever it was. I don't recall. But somehow the family halted that, and they had to, I guess, kind of scrap part of that movie and just blur that out or edit it out. So there's one of these. It might be 4, it might be 5. I don't recall. I mean, it's easy enough to look online really quick and find it, but I know for a while the ones that were recalled were going for some pretty big money. I don't know if they still are. Here's an Italian cannibal movie called Man from Deep River, put out by Umberto Lenzi. He was the director from Eaten Alive, not to be confused with Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive with the Killer Crocodile. This was Eaten Alive. It was another one of the Pacific Island cannibal movies. And these are pretty fun movies. It's their own separate genre of horror movie, and you have to be kind of in the mood to watch these, but these are pretty fun movies. I enjoy them. Here's another Something Weird video, double feature. We have Asylum of Satan and Satan's Children, special edition DVD. I really enjoy it looks like Night of the Demon. Maybe that's kind of a homage to the Night of the Demon from, was that the 50s, 1950s? But I really do love these double features. It makes it feel like a kind of a drive-in experience. And there's some bonus features on here too. These Something Weird video releases are really good. Here's another, I guess, holiday horror movie, which I really do enjoy the holiday horror movies. This is Krampus, the Christmas Devil. And you can see that I got this at an FYE. Originally they wanted 15 for it, then they wanted 8 for it. And I got it a little bit cheaper than that because I do have a membership there. I don't know if this is the part 1 of the Krampus franchise. That sounds crazy, Krampus franchise, but you know, these movies are pretty good. They're all right. This is another case of, you guys may remember when I showed my part 1 of this series, I talked about The Mutilator, which was a Buddy Cooper movie. And at the time, it did not ever have a DVD release. It only had a VHS release. That was the same case with this movie here, which I think it does have an official release now. But at this time when I bought it, this is a fan-made edition because it never had a DVD release. So this is The Hanging Woman, and they actually did a really good job. You can see that they have, is that a sticker, or they silk printed it on there. This was not an official release. You can see that it's purple. When it's purple like that, it means it was a burned copy. When it's silver, it was an official pressed release. And I mean, they really did a great job. They even have the synopsis on the back and everything. And the picture quality looks decent. I mean, it looks VHS quality, but you had the convenience of having it on DVD now. But so this does have an official release by now, but I still will keep this. I mean, it looks great. Some of these early fan editions were really nice. People put a lot of time and effort into those. I also want to say, and I said it in the first video, that I do not condone pirating movies. I think it's awful. If it's a scenario like this where it didn't have a DVD release, I don't mind doing it, but I would never buy bootlegs, and I don't own bootlegs in my collection if they're movies that were officially released. I just want to make that clear. This movie here, it's not really a movie, it's a documentary. I got to meet Joe Coleman before. I met him in Chicago. This is called Rest in Pieces. This is a pretty brutal documentary about the life of Joe Coleman, who was a very fascinating guy. This was a very hard ticket to get. This one's hard to find. It's very pricey, if you can even find it. And this was a while ago. It may not be anymore. I'm not sure. He's a very fascinating guy. There he is right there. He's a very good speaker. You may not agree with a lot of the things that he says. That's kind of how I feel about certain YouTubers, but I still enjoy them, and no different for this guy. I have a couple of books that were signed by him as well. And I do recommend checking this out. There's a part in here, though, that I refuse to watch. I don't like live animal torture. And there's a scene in here that I wish he wouldn't have done what he did. And I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but I really hate that scene in the movie. I wish he didn't do it, or the documentary. So that's it for now. I'm going to pause it. We're going to go through those, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so I almost got rid of you guys too soon. I still have a little bit here to go. And remember, if you guys are enjoying these movies, these videos of me showing movies, the best way to show me that is to either hit the thumbs up button or leave a comment. And like I said before, if I get enough thumbs up or views, I will do a part 3 tomorrow. Today is Saturday as I'm recording this. I may do one more tomorrow. This is the Godzilla collection. Includes the original uncut Godzilla, aka Gojira. Japanese monster movies. These are great. Grew up watching these as a kid. I love them. So volume 1, you get Gojira, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Godzilla Raids Again, Mothra versus Godzilla. aka Godzilla versus the Thing. In Volume 2, you get Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. You get Invasion of Astro Monster, aka Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. All Monsters Attack, aka Godzilla's Revenge. And you get Terror of Mecha Godzilla. And there's a bonus movie, a hidden movie in here, Jason vs. Godzilla. So this is a pretty awesome set. And they come in their own, I guess, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And they're on swing trays. And this is a gorgeous set. And these all do have Blu-ray releases by now, but I'll never get rid of these. These are beautiful. This is a gorgeous set. Next one is Army of Darkness. This is the Screwhead edition with the slipcover. Not much to say about the movie. I enjoy it. I just don't love it as much as a lot of people do. I think it's a great movie. I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think it's a legend. I didn't like the comedy route that it ended up going for Part 2 and Part 3, but I do like the movie. This is another movie here that I was pleasantly surprised when I first watched it. It's called Midnight Movie. It's a really good slipcover too. I had never even heard of it before I bought this, and when I watched it, I was really surprised. My favorite genre, though, is the slasher movie, so this is right up my alley here. This is a horrifying treat for gorehounds and old-school horror fans alike. If you are an old-school horror fan and you like the old-timey kind of slasher films, you'd probably like that too. Here's another Trauma B movie, drive-in style movie called Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator. This is a case where the cover is better than the movie. But, you know, seeing the logo Trauma, you know exactly what you're getting into. Here's one that was kind of rare back in the day. It's called Back from the Dead. This was another fan-made movie. This was only available on VHS at the time. Excuse me. And this was Back from the Dead. This was fan-made, and they threw in a bunch of... Back before I started getting into these DVDs, I was in I guess kind of a VHS trading club, although I didn't burn any on my own, but I did buy from a group of guys who always had like fresh inventory, like new releases of very rare movies. And back in the day, that's how we did it. Back before, you know, there was blockbusters and stuff like that. These low budget, under the radar movies never had a market. So you had to buy these from fans across the country. And there was a guy that I used to buy a bunch of VHS from. And I don't know how he did it, but he always had like the cleanest copies of VHS tapes. But this guy here threw in a bunch of these little cards. And, you know, these guys, I guess you can consider this a bootleg, although I don't think this ever still to this day has a DVD release. It has a VHS release. That's where this transfer came from. But I doubt that this movie has a DVD release. And I got this probably 20 years ago. You'll probably never see this movie again. And again, that was part of the fun of collecting, was the hunt. Back then, there really was a hunt. Today, a hunt is what we walk to a Walmart, or we, you know, go to diabolicdvd.com. That's the hunt. This was a hunt right here. A couple more. We have The Last House on the Left, filmed by Wes Craven. This is the unrated collector's edition. I transferred that to a red case. Another kind of a home invasion revenge type movie. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Sleaze Box. This is called Hell Walks the Earth. This was given to me by my buddy Quack. I don't even know if he still watches my videos anymore. But he sent me a whole box one time of these Sleaze Box movies. This was one of them. Kind of like the Beelzebub movies, or kind of like trauma style type movies. And we'll call the last one for this video Junk Food Horror Fest, Chemical Burn Entertainment. So we have a pretty wide range of movies here at the Walnuts compound, and that's exactly how I like it. I have so many more to show you guys if you're interested, and we only put a little nick in this box, and I still have several, probably another dozen crates of movies I can go through. I could always wait until the shelves are built, or if you guys want to see more, leave a comment, hit that thumbs up. Other than that, there's my girls again. There's Miss Hannah. There's Miss Heidi. So she knows when I say, she knows when we're wrapping it up here. So, all right, guys, take care. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you later. Peace.